Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why
Where
they're.
do they fit in that formula for safety for them?
Hmm. Well, the cameras are supposed to reduce the speed, make people aware that these are school zones and that you should be going slower when
Right.
people go beyond the speed zone. I guess the question is, do we want people? Do we want to trust people without cameras, or do we want to people to trust people but have cameras for those who are violating, or do we want cameras and then have a revenue pot that we decide who gets that money?
I tell you, the number one issue is about the children. I bet if there were school zones on St. Charles Avenue, they'd have all kinds of safety.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, down for me, two children were hit several years ago, a little brother and a little sister,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them died. I mean, what about the children? And on my street, I've asked them to put a camera for speeding just in general because they use Paris Avenue like a drag strip.
Mm.
Nothing's been done about it. And there are school buses picking up and dropping off children. They're waiting. You know, I could understand the issue about the money, but the number one priority should be about the safety of the children. Or are they fitting into a group? They don't care whether they come out of school and not know how to read. Can I compare them?
Well, I agree with you. I don't think anybody would disagree with you. I mean, we want our kids to be safe. We want our kids to be in school.
All right.
We want them to be safe on the way to school and leaving school, whether that is by walking or by bus or personal transportation. We need people to obey the speed zones so that these babies can be safe on their way in and on their way out. How do you feel about the cameras?
We need those cameras. We need
Okay.
because of the safety of the children.
Mm-hmm.
The concern for the children. I mean, they're already going to school early in the morning. They're already going to school 10 miles from where they live. They're routing them around. They're making it convenient for everybody else, closing schools that are close by. They got to get up early in the morning, like if they go and work on the riverfront, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So we need the number one priority, the safety and concern of the children.
Does it matter
Boy,
to you who gets the money when
it
people are
matters, but
fine?
the number one priority would be the children. Think about them. They both sides should come together and think about the children. They left out of the formula.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
Okay,
well, I appreciate your call, Ms. Jones. Thank you
I
for listening.
appreciate you.
And
And one more thing for voting, people need to really check on their registration and see to it that people who can't get out of the house could get a ballot sent to their house and help people in the booth that are unable to read, visually impaired, or what have you. Officially, that can be done.
absolutely, positively, it's so important. And not a day should go by without somebody asking somebody, "Are you registered to vote? How can
Right.
I help you?" Make sure that I mean, it shouldn't be the days before the election that
Exactly. It should be
we're getting people
ongoing,
ongoing.
365.
Yep, absolutely, positively. And along those lines, we've got City Council C debate hosted by the Urban League of Louisiana and a number of other groups. That's going to be at 7 p.m. tonight at LB Landry High School, and four candidates will be there to take questions. And one of the things about the Urban League program, they do take questions from the audience. I mean, you submit them
Good.
electronically. But that starts at LB Landry at 7 p.m. That's scheduled for 7 to 8:30 p.m. And if you unable to get there, it will be online. Yours
Good.
truly and Dr. Wyatt will be moderating that program. Thank you so much, Ms. Jones. We appreciate your
Thank
call.
you. I appreciate you all, too. I appreciate Dr. Ashanta. We'll never forget you. You're in the city. You're not gone far, no more than across the street.
All right. We
Okay.
we know where she is.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
All right.
Okay, and good luck to you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. So Ms. Jones has weighed in with what she thinks about the cameras. What do you all think about the cameras and the school zones? Do you want the cameras? You don't want the cameras, or you want the cameras, but you want a different kind of split between the school districts and the city of New Orleans? WBOK 1230 AM talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. And has anybody heard about these the fight over in the jail on Sunday night? Curious to know what you might have heard, what you know about that. Meanwhile, we've got over at the Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport, there's planning for a second terminal. Some of you all may have heard about this, but we got a wonderful, I think it's a beautiful terminal that came up out of what we used to have over at MSY. And now they're looking at plans for a second terminal based on the traffic that has been building in recent years and anticipation of greater need coming up. So Kenner residents and elected officials in Kenner, because our Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport is actually located in Kenner. The locals there say they need better communication, more information, and more transparency about the expansion. So they're looking to, there will be a meeting on August 12th to, they hosted a meeting on August 12th to solicit public input on the expansion plans, but there was no information about what residents say was sufficient notice of the gathering. So there was a meeting, but they didn't feel like enough people knew about that meeting. And so there were only a dozen or so people who showed up. But public agencies are required to provide at least 24 hours notice before a public meeting. And the airport said that they did do that, both on NOLA.com and in Louisiana Weekly, and on print and online for a week before the meeting. So a whole week before the meeting. But somehow a number of folks who are concerned said that they were not aware of that. Did any of you all go to that meeting? Were you aware of that meeting? The president of Citizens for a Better Kenner said he usually gets notices about such meetings, and he did not get a notice. I think it's a beautiful airport. I can see why we might need a second terminal. A lot of people want to come to New Orleans because we have such a wonderful city, a wonderful culture, and more people want to come here, whether it's for the day, for business, for our festivals, events, for our food, for our culture, and of course, our people. But what do you all think about a second terminal? Do you like the one we have? Would you like a second terminal? If we get a second terminal, what should that look like? What would you want in there? Or there's some different airlines. What kind of expansion would you like to see if we get a second terminal? And at this point, it looks like we're going to get one. It's going to take some years, but it's going to be a process of deciding on the size, the location, and what that might look like beyond the $1.3 billion airport terminal that we opened in 2019. I don't think this should be a Kenner-only issue. I certainly understand the impact on people who live, work, and play around the airport, but there are so many people who are employed by the local airport that I see this as a broader set of issues, and it's not always concern. It's something that is vital for our economic development, vital for our viability. But in the 2022-2025 passenger counts at the airport increased from 5.9 million to 6.6 million. And at that rate, we would reach the limit of the existing capacity, 9.7 million, by 2031. 2031. So it's 2025 now, and that might seem like several years off, and it is. But to be able to accommodate that, have to start the planning now, have to figure out location, structure, design, have to break ground, have to build out whatever that's going to look like, and be ready to roll. Otherwise, what would happen is people would start flying elsewhere and then driving to the city or bypassing the city of New Orleans. And we would not want that. We need people to come to our city, to spend their money in our city, and to support our city and this region. And the airport is an important part of that. I'd love to know what you think about our airport and what you think about an airport expansion. The WBOK 1230 AM talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. Once again, 504-582-9422. WBOK talk line. What do you think about the airport? You like the terminal? You see a need for an expansion? You want to see some different airlines? Do you think the people in Kenner have a right to know what's going on? You think they should know more than folks in other parts of the region? What are your thoughts? 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. I know not everybody flies often. I certainly don't. But when you do, you want to make sure that things are going according to plan, that things are entirely safe, and that we are keeping up with the safety modes and the best practices around the nation and around the world. We've got a great airport. We want to keep it that way. We want to keep it up. Love to know what you think. 504-582-9422. We're going to have to go to break. And when we come back from break, we're going to talk about the stuff that you want and need to know. News, information, education, and more right here at WBOK 1230 AM, the station that everybody's talking about, listening to all day long.
Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine the light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Every Friday at noon on WBOK.
Hey, New Orleans, look for important changes to your natural gas service. This summer, Delta Utilities takes over for Entergy Gas with a Louisiana-born, Louisiana-based approach to safe, clean, reliable natural gas. No interruptions or rate changes due to the transition, just dependable service and modernized technology to keep you running smoothly. Get to know us at deltautilities.com and stay tuned for more later this summer. Delta Utilities, focused on natural gas, committed to New Orleans.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
12:30 a.m. The talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. Where's my Facebook family at? I know we were not up and going. We had some technical difficulties, but we see you, and we are glad that you are with us, whether you are listening on and watching on Facebook, if you are listening or AM radio, or if you're listening via the internet on the WBOK 1230 AM website. Thank you for tuning in on this fabulous morning. Any day that the Lord has blessed us with another opportunity to live, work, and play, I am excited to be here and see what we can do with it. I wonder what you're doing today. I've got the rest of the show, and we've got coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, we've got Michael McClanahan, our friend from the NAACP Louisiana State Conference. He's the president, and he's got a number of things he's going to be talking to us about, including Louisiana redistricting, voting and voting rights, and the upcoming NAACP convention. We're also going to have Dr. Silas Lee from Xavier University. So we're going to take a closer look at the goings on with campaigning and next steps post the indictment of our mayor. And I emphasize she is our mayor. And Dr. Lee is going to weigh in and give some of his perspective on that. Meanwhile, we have an opportunity to hear from you. And that talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. And I'm gonna be giving you some information that you may have seen, you may have heard, you may not, but the latest on what's happening with the Ukraine war. There was a summit in Alaska last week between President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin of Russia. It was a pretty big deal because it's not often that these heads of states get together outside of Washington, D.C. or, their place, Moscow. Of course, as we know, Alaska is not far from part of Russia. And so there was a big summit over there to focus on what's happening with the Ukraine-Russia war. So yesterday there was a D.C. summit, and that was with Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky and a number of European leaders. They met in Washington to talk about the developments out of Alaska and that summit. After that meeting, President Trump made a call to Putin, so who he had just talked with last week, but he made a phone call coming out of whatever was discussed in the, I'll call it the Ukraine-European summit yesterday. And he said that he expects a meeting, face-to-face meeting between Zelensky and Putin soon. Date, time, place to be determined. What I find interesting about that is Putin did not say that happened, and Russia said they're interested in continuous talks, and they would consider raising the level of the conversation. Seems to indicate a higher authority, but it certainly doesn't seem to indicate the president. So maybe that's not quite true, but we'll see where that goes. I mean, at this point, Russia has about a fifth of Ukraine, and there are great desires to have this war stop because so many people have died, and it's going on way too long, and we need to see what can happen to bring it to a halt. If Donald Trump is the man to make that happen, I'm all for it. I just want to see this come to an end and see Ukraine live in peace and not be threatened by Russia. I'd love to know what you think. 504 582 9422, 504 582 9422. Meanwhile, Hamas has accepted an Arab ceasefire proposal, and the Gaza Health Ministry puts the death toll at 62,000 people after 22 months of war. Israel says without a ceasefire, they will occupy Gaza City and some other areas. And some folks are saying we don't need a ceasefire. What we need is to go straight to peace. So that's a whole different set of circumstances dealing with war in our world. And that's another set of sticky widgets that y'all should be aware of. And, pray for these folks because the people who are doing the negotiating are looking out for the best interests of their constituents, their people. But, of course, it's none of us should want to see people die. None of us should want to see people die. So, meanwhile, back at home, sort of, Washington, D.C. has a federal onslaught of law enforcement because the President of the United States has decided that Washington, D.C. is crime-ridden. And despite the numbers showing that crime has declined, he's decided that they don't know enough about what they're doing and that we need to have all kinds of law enforcement patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. For at least 30 days, which is the maximum they can do. And now, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry has decided that we should help. The governor says, quote, "We are a nation of law and order. Our capital is a reflection of our nation's respect, beauty, and standards." And there, with that, the governor says he's sending about 135 soldiers to assist in the federal crime effort in Washington, D.C. 135 members of the Louisiana National Guard, joining 5 other red states that have pledged to help Donald Trump and the federal crackdown in our nation's capital. With the not just with Louisiana, but the additional states that could bring it to boost the number from about 800 troops to more than 1,100 troops. And Louisiana, our governor says, needs to be a part of that effort. He's proud to support the mission to return safety and sanity to Washington, D.C. and cities all across our country, including right here in Louisiana. Well, let's back that up. Here's what he said, quote, "I am proud to support this mission to return safety and sanity to Washington, D.C. and cities all across our country, including right here in Louisiana," close quote. Unless the journalists got that wrong, that is what the governor said. So basically, he's saying that things are unsafe and insane in Washington, D.C., and cities all across our country and the state of Louisiana. Who has the biggest city in Louisiana? New Orleans. What's the majority population of that city? Black. Do we really think that this is an insane place? Do we consider it unsafe? We've been dropping our crime numbers thanks to a number of agencies and people. But do we really, really need leaders to say we're going to return safety and sanity to Washington, D.C., New Orleans, and other cities in this state and across the nation? Really? Really? I mean, one of the things I like about what Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser said is she welcomes the fight against violent crime. But what's going on is not a fight against violent crime. I think what is going on in Washington, D.C. is insane and unsafe. What do you think? 504-582-9422 as our talk line. 504-582-9422 is our talk line. We're going to have to go to break in a moment, but we got time to get one more call in if you got something to say about Louisiana sending National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. We're sending about 135 folks up there. I hope they're not going to go up there and sleep in the hotels and have nice breakfasts, lunches, and dinners and snacks, and then go out and do traffic patrol instead of cracking down on any violent crime. I'm all for that, but let's not send these people up there to have playtime. All right, we're going to have to go to break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, WBOK 1230 AM, the station that you listen to all day long.
WBOK New Orleans, home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
This year marks 20 years since Hurricane Katrina changed our city and our schools forever. New Schools for New Orleans is sharing After the Storm, a special series reflecting on the past 2 decades of change and progress in public education. Through videos, personal stories, and a powerful interactive timeline and data dashboard, we explore how our schools recovered, transformed, grew, and what that progress means for our students today. Discover the videos, data, resources, and stories behind the 20 years of change at newschoolsforneworleans.org/Katrina20.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Black D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is pushing back on President Trump's claim that federal troops are making the city safer.
The change that needs to happen is with comprehensive immigration reform and leadership at the national level.
Bowser says the military doesn't belong in American streets and questions Trump's dismissal of official crime stats as fake. Hundreds protested in Northwest D.C. against President Trump's anti-crime crackdown. Organizers say the surge in National Guard troops is fueling fear, especially among vulnerable communities. Residents are urged to make noise nightly at 8 p.m. in defiance. And former NFL baller Johnny Manziel says his friend Drake's new album, Iceman, will drop around his October 24th birthday. The rapper hasn't confirmed it, but fans are hyped after 2 singles, What Did I Miss and Which One with Central C, top charts. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Morning Show, WBOK 1230 AM. Thank you for joining us. And if you got something to say, something to ask, the talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. I'm Will Sutton, Times-Picayune, NOLA.com columnist, and your Good Morning Show host today. I am happy to have joining us Michael McClanahan, NAACP Louisiana State Conference President. Mr. McClanahan, how are you, sir?
Good morning, my friend Will. Good morning, Will.
How you doing?
We're always connected at some point in time, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. So much always going on, but I know you got a lot going on. Got a great convention plan. But before we hop into that, can we talk about what happened last week with Louisiana redistricting?
Well, I've been saying for years, Will, after the census, it's time to redistrict. And I understood the population shift, and I understood that, whites I understood all that from the state of Louisiana's viewpoint. And so just to get the legislature to understand the law was on our side because we didn't create it, we live by it, right? And know that we have a great team of lawyers at LDF and know that we got God Almighty on our side. And so with that, man, the process says we go to court, file suit, tell them this is what we got, this is what the law says, this is what the maps say. And they didn't want to do it. So we filed suit, went up through Shelley Dick, heard it. She was a district court judge. And then they filed an appeal with the most conservative court in the land, the Fifth Circuit, and the Fifth Circuit ruled in our favor. And so that says that we're entitled to more seats in the state legislature. That means that as a state representative, we're entitled to more black and brown seats, and in the state Senate, more black and brown seats. So that was a major victory for us in itself.
So let's back that up a bit, and because I want people to be clear that this is a separate lawsuit from the one that is about the congressional seat currently held by Cleo Fields. So this is the we certainly stand by and want to see that seat continued, but that case will be re-argued in the U.S. Supreme Court in the fall, in October. But this is a case about the representatives and the senators who represent us closest to home. And so can you review for those who may need to get caught up? What are we talking about in terms of districts with the state representation and the state Senate representation?
Yeah. To back up a little bit more, redistricting and reapportionment says that we have to look at those representative seats in Congress as well as the state house.
Yeah.
The state house means the state legislature. And so the congressional seat by itself, because we have 7 congresspersons, only one black at the time was Troy Carter out of New Orleans. We understood that we make up a third of the population, so we're entitled to a third of the congressional seats, which is 2. And so it was agreed upon, because we had filed a suit, we was going to win anyway, that the seat that Cleo Fields occupy is a congressional seat. And you're right, there's a re-argument before the Supreme Court in October. So we know, we're confident that the law and the lawyers and the lawyers are going to be on our side again. And so that's separate from, that suit was called Calais versus the state of Louisiana, Nancy Landry, and all of that. Mm-hmm. But the other part to that is the persons that Cleo Fields represent, that runs from Baton Rouge to the bottom part of Caddo Parish, filed a lawsuit saying that in essence they didn't want no black representation. And so they said that the reapportionment worked against them because they wanted to keep their old congressmen. So we waiting on the Supreme Court arguments and finality in that particular suit. But that suit has bearing, Will, if you don't mind for me saying. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is under attack.
Yes.
The Voting Rights Act has been under attack since it was actually created in 1965. And so what people really don't understand is that if Section 2, which is really the substance of the Voting Rights Act now, if it fails, you don't have a right to have a representative on the school board, town council, state house, or Congress that looks just like you, that understands your plight, who understands what it means to represent black and brown people because of a different culture, right? Mm-hmm. And so if that fails, then you're at the whim of those in power, and that's scary because the power stuff today is not what I envision, is not what our forefathers envisioned for America either.
So, what should we expect in terms of next steps on this legislative map? So, certainly this is a win, but what does that win mean, and what should we expect?
Well, that win means that we're a little bit closer to getting more more legislative seats. As the demographer said, I think we're entitled to at least 8 or 9, maybe state representative seats, and maybe 4 to 5, maybe up to 6 state senate seats. So that means the supermajority that's in the state legislature now, we may be able to break that. We may be able to break that with additional seats, but it's going to be on the whole because of the same premise that was used to win the congressional seat, the same premise that we're using on the House legislative seats. And so with the congressional seat before the Supreme Court, that means that probably seat will probably be held up pending the outcome of the clear congressional seat. But I can tell you this, our lawyers have always been asking, don't hold it up, don't wait on that, because we're entitled to it, and the law said we are. Let's move on it. And so whether or not the justice and the judge will allow that to happen, I don't know yet. I don't know what has happened since then.
All right. So where would these districts likely to be located?
Well, I understand Baton Rouge could get some. Shreveport can get some. I was listening to Joel Walter, State Representative Walters up in Shreveport. There are a couple that's going to go up there. I think Alexandria will get 1 or 2 seats. And so that would be the Baton Rouge, Alexandria, Shreveport, I think somewhere else. But where you have majority of blacks, what the representative did previously, they packed their district with like 67, 70% blacks in them, right? And so, when you unpack that district like that, you create more seats, right? And so we had to unpack some of these districts. And I said, if you can't win with 57%, blacks in your district, you don't need to win no-how. So,
right.
Yeah.
So what
we go ahead.
So if I'm understanding correctly, so what you're saying is some of the districts have a high percentage of black folks in those districts in the high 50s and even the low 60s. But if they are, quote unquote, unpacked, the number of black folks in those districts would be lower, but it still would be a majority, thereby making it possible that enough black folks would be available to make up another district to get another person elected. Is that roughly right?
That is correct, Professor. You're so right.
Okay. And so we would therefore have additional representation in Baton Rouge during the legislative session.
Yes, sir. It definitely would be.
Okay.
More boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Okay. All right. So do you anticipate an appeal?
No, I don't. Because the Supreme Court ruled previously that the congressional seat was fine. They ruled in the Alabama case. They would have to go and overrule themselves on the Alabama case, to make this work for the other side. Because they've already said, Alabama, you're fine, and Alabama has less blacks in this state than Louisiana. I think they got like 22 or 25%. We got 30 something. So, they would have to overrule, because during the Alabama case, they said, Louisiana, you're fine to go ahead and draw the map with what you're using, and that's what we did.
Yeah, and again, the court that made the ruling is not exactly the most friendly voting rights court. So for them to rule in favor, I think says a lot about the case and the situation.
Yeah, you're so right. So right. Yeah. So we're just gonna continue to apply that pressure. We'll go up to D.C. And put the people in place. Let America knows what's at stake. A lot is at stake, and so depending on the outcome, we'll wake up and continue to shout from the rooftops, or we'll get more boots on the ground, and we'll continue to march until justice is served.
Okay, so let's say things stand, and the state legislature has to create these districts. What's your guess about the timetable for when that work would start and when we could get the new districts in place for candidates to be considered and voters to choose?
Well, the majority, supermajority, which has to draw these things, would take their time drawing them. I would hope they would be in place by the 2026 elections. That is the hope. And so we're waiting to see, because, Jeff Lynch, Liz Merrill, they're going to drag it out. You might have to file another suit at some point in time to get them to speed up, I would imagine, because they ain't going to go. They're going to fight and scream every inch of the way.
All right. Well, we'll be watching that, and obviously we can't let our guard down. We're going to have to keep our eyes open on all of these fronts, because they're definitely coming after us on voting and reducing our representation as often as possible wherever they can. So speaking of voting, let's talk about voting in the state of Louisiana and why that is a big deal, and also of concern to you as we head into the fall.
It's funny you ask these questions right there. I served on the legislative voting task force last year, 24 and 23, that created, the mechanism. We'll have new voting machines in the near future. We're going from voting machines to paper ballots. And so that's voter suppression, because, we're not accustomed to standing in long lines. We're supposed to press the button going in and coming on out. That's new. Then you got all these other laws dealing with absentee ballots. You got these laws now saying if you're not a Democrat or Republican, you're independent, you can't vote in certain elections. So all that stuff going on. So the legislature created a task force to look at why a small percentage of people vote and not in larger numbers. And so looking at that, man, you have, I say all the time, the linchpin of democracy is the right to vote, is the voting. And once you take away voting, then you eliminate democracy, because democracy they have the right to petition the government and vote for those that represent me, who are my mouthpiece, right? Mm-hmm. It has been under attack. In Louisiana, it's probably one of the worst in the states, because, whenever when they eliminated slavery, we came up with Jim Crow. We always create laws here that hold black, brown, disenfranchised persons down. That's what Louisiana is known for. And so our people don't, I wear a voting shirt almost every day, except I don't have one on the day. I wear one every single day, because it's the most important weapon that we have in our arsenal, is our ability to go to the polls and vote.
So why is it, here you and ACLU and Power Coalition and others are, continuing to fight for voting rights to keep and maintain what we have and to expand it. But yet we have a lot of black voters, a lot of black people who aren't even registered to vote.
Right.
Right. How can, that's so much of a gap.
Yeah. I fight this all the time too. It's really two or threefold. A couple of years ago, there was a vote for, the legislature. Their seats were up. I think then, but one half of opposition, that was Candace Newell in New Orleans, I think, one or two. Mm-hmm. Out of the 39 legislators, there might have been one or two opposition. That hurt us there, because that was a chance to engage the voters, engage the people in voting, right? We missed that opportunity. And so every now, before then, but since then, it's been dropping lower and lower and lower. People don't understand, and I say this, I've been saying this for about 5-10 years. They wouldn't understand the magnitude until the streets are overcrowded with drunk, the streets are bad, housing is bad, education system is bad, hospitals closed, food deserts are there. That's what's going to get them to open their eyes. And it's a sad commentary. That shouldn't have to happen for them to understand how important their vote is.
Yeah, one of the recent reviews of election showed that 72% of Louisiana's white voters, registered voters, participated, and 24% of black registered voters participated. And that's just the registered voters participating.
Wow.
24% is not a good number, especially when
Not a good number.
No,
Not
no,
a good number.
not at all. Yep. So look, I know we're going to have to let you go in just a couple of minutes or so, but I want to make sure we talk about the NAACP convention. Tell us about when that is, where that is. It's something you do each year. What's going on this year?
Well, we're so excited about the 83rd NAACP convention and leadership conference taking place in Baton Rouge, October the 2nd through October the 4th. And what it is it's a fun day to re-energize, re-engage, because you'll see people from all over the state of Louisiana converge on Baton Rouge. Sometimes they never see one another. They don't know there's a whole lot of other people in the fight with him, fighting for civil rights, human rights, environmental rights, educational rights, all of that kind of stuff. And to have persons come down and share their subject matter expertise with the audience, with those that are there, man, it's truly humbling. And then to top it all off, we have our Freedom Fund Gala. Will be keynoted by Roland Martin. So we're excited about what's about to happen, and we ain't playing with it. We're gonna bring all we can to this state. You know, be it our marching, be it our voice, be it our voting, but we're sure gonna bring the people that keep us energized, because it's called Reigniting the Fight for Justice. Reigniting the Fight for Justice, like no other in 2025.
Wow, that sounds great. And I know Roland Martin always brings the fire, so that's going to be quite an event. And so that's the 83rd NAACP Louisiana State Convention and Leadership Conference in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at the Crowne Plaza, October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And how can people reach you, and how can they reach anyone to find out more about the convention and the conference?
Well, they can always go to our website, NAACPLAstate.org. That's NAACPLAstate.org. Or they can call them myself. I'll leave a message if I don't pick up on time. It's 225-287-4673, 225-287-4673. But go to the website. It says everything you need for the convention, all the information that we do, the things that we do. But if you want to know how you can get involved in NAACP with our fight for justice, join the oldest and the boldest, the most hated, the most loved, most feared and revered, most cussed and discussed civil rights organization in America, the NAACP.
All right now. All right. You got your own fire there. All right. Well, thank you so much, Michael McClanahan, the NAACP Louisiana State Conference president, for joining us here on the Good Morning Show, talking about Louisiana redistricting, voting rights, importance of voting, and the big NAACP convention, state convention and leadership conference coming up in October. So we're going to be taking a break. And thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it. And we'll be in touch. We've got to take a break. And soon after that, we will be hearing from Solace Lee, talking about the things that have happened since with the indictment of our mayor and impact on politics. This is WBOK 1230 AM, the station that you listen to all day long.
New Orleans, are you ready? A fresh voice in the city is here, bringing you the beats, the culture, and the stories that matter.
Good morning and happy Tuesday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. This morning, the search continues for 12-year-old boy missing since last week. We've learned the Sewage and Water Board might drain a canal in New Orleans East as additional resources pour in from across the state. New Orleans police tell us this is still a rescue mission for Brian Vasquez, who has autism and is nonverbal. His family discovered him missing last Thursday morning from his home on Beaucaire Street. If you spot him, call 911. Then several people accused of helping the inmates who escaped from the Orleans Parish Jail will be in court today. That includes jail employee Sterling Williams, who is accused of cutting off water to a jail cell so the inmates could escape through a hole behind a toilet in that cell. He has pleaded not guilty and says he was simply following orders from a jail guard to check on an overflowing toilet in another cell. And finally, Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill says anyone who received a ticket for speeding in a school zone and paid it last year should get a refund. That's because she says the city of New Orleans is in violation of a new state law that requires the city to split its revenue from those tickets with local schools. In a letter, the AG said she will seek criminal charges if the city turns on cameras without having an agreement in place. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day.
Tired of the impersonal, one-size-fit-all style of banking? You deserve a bank that delivers exceptional service and personalized attention to your needs. That's the Home Bank Standard. Since 1908, Home Bank has been a trusted financial partner for businesses and families because we go the extra mile to help you reach your goals. See for yourself why Home Bank is good for business, good for life. Stop by any New Orleans area location or find out more at home24bank.com. Home Bank, member FDIC.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show on WBOK 1230 AM. The talk line where we can hear from you is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. Right now, we're going to hear from Dr. Silas Lee of Xavier University, nationally known, recognized as strategist and poster. So he's going to help us take a look at what's been going on since Friday afternoon and learning about the indictment of our mayor, looking at what kind of giving us a few perspectives, things to think about with that situation, and particularly in this political climate. Dr. Lee, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Dr. Lee, good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
Good morning. Doing good. How about you?
Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, we have had several weeks and months with are they or aren't they going to indict the mayor? And the answer came on Friday that the answer was yes. So I know that you've had time to look at the indictment, look at the situation, look at the impact for Mayor Latoya Cantrell, Officer Vappie, and the implications. Give us an overview from your perspective now that a few days have passed. How should we look at this and think about this in the context of what happened on Friday and where we are now?
Well, first of all, you are innocent until proven otherwise, guilty or innocent. You have to have your day in court. And certainly this is where the rubber meets the road. You can say a lot of things out of court. However, now that it is in federal court, you must prove what you say. I do jury consulting, and one theme that was referred to me several years ago in a case was everybody can bring talk, but you have to bring the facts and evidence. And this is where you have to bring the facts and evidence to justify your position. This is a federal case, and I've had 6 clients in the past who were indicted and ultimately had to serve some time. Different situations involved. Mm-hmm. And what makes this case unique is the fact that you don't have a solid quid pro quo whereby she got a lot of money back in terms of a kickback or some material goods. No, you have more of a cover-up to conceal a relationship and the use of public funds and the use of position of power and authority to not only conceal it, but use the resources of that relationship, meaning the public office. So where it stands right now, that's the delicate area she's in. And I refer to what I've seen before in recent cases, the use of technology having such a tremendous impact. We call it digital lipstick, whereby with digital lipstick, men used to get caught having affairs with lipstick on their collar. Now everything is technology, text messages, photos, and emails, and that means we don't have any control once we hit send on our devices, and you are using what's known as the public airwaves, the service of Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and so forth. And that is where you get into the thorny area of wire fraud and other arenas that you see evolving in this particular case. So I tell people just wait, let's see what the evidence shows. But this is something in terms of the mayor, she will have to devote time and resources to, because with federal cases, it's one, they're overwhelming in terms of producing information, responding to information is larger than having one attorney. You have to have 3 or 4 attorneys. And look at the number of people who were investigating the mayor that walked out of court that day. So it tells you how overwhelming it is. So we will see the mayor. She will do a bond hearing and naturally enter a plea. And then they will talk about probably, naturally I don't see her being someone that they see as a flight risk, but I don't know if they're going to take a passport or strict activity. We don't know. We have to see all of that happen. Maybe try to set a trial date. We're looking at a trial date after she is out of office. And keep in mind, while they are gathering evidence, preparing for trial, the clock is ticking, meaning that the clock in terms of how much you are paying attorneys to represent you is ticking. And if you have to go to court, and when you do go to court, that also means the clock, the dollar clock, continues to tick. So this is going to be a year-long process, and needless to say, very expensive for the mayor.
So what's your take? I mean, that people are talking about she's returned to work or she can't work. She's so consumed. Do you see that there's a balance with doing what you need to do to prepare to defend yourself while doing the duties of mayor?
Yeah, there has to be a balance. That's why you hire attorneys, and it's not just one. It's probably 4 or 5, depending on the magnitude of the case. So she will have to strike a balance in terms of managing the affairs of the city, and the city's operations much bigger than one person. It will function regardless if that one person, here being the mayor, is present or not. However, people see the mayor as the CEO of the city, and they ultimately have an affinity for that. However, we have to recognize that, yes, this is a distraction, and beyond that, let's fast forward in terms of Mayor Cantrell's legacy. She was a former student of mine at Xavier. I did her polls when she was running the first time for mayor, and also her reelection. And in terms of her legacy, she never wanted this, I'm quite sure, to be in the first paragraph of her political biography, the first sitting mayor to get indicted while in office. And that, unfortunately, will be a part of her legacy, in spite of many of the accomplishments leading the city through COVID, the fair share, keeping the city out of bankruptcy during COVID. Much of that will probably be overshadowed by discussions in reference to this indictment.
And that's whether she is ruled innocent or guilty. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but the bottom line, you are now an indicted person.
Yeah.
And you have that label attached to you too as a felon. Now, we have to see what happens in terms of what the final outcome will be. But indictments you have to take very seriously. I've seen numerous clients in the past. What they say out of court, drastically different from what they experience and have to prove in court.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, let's change gears a bit and look at, because you have so much experience with a number of different things related to polling and strategy and juries and so forth. Do you see much of an impact of this indictment on Friday as we move forward with the mayoral campaign and other campaigns in the city?
No, people are good at compartmentalizing events. Certainly, what people want right now is to start the next chapter in the city's history. So we're looking at the election of a new mayor, new tenure, new focus for the next administration. They want to move on, but this will continue to hang over the city's head until the trial is over. And that's just the reality of it. But we're getting closer. First, she only has 4 months left to her tenure. Then a new mayor will be in place. However, the trial probably will not have started by, like I say, you're looking at a year-long process probably. So therefore, the trial will still be out there, but it may not receive the media attention it is receiving right now.
So do you see it having any significant impact on the campaigns, any of the campaigns, particularly the mayoral campaign, or no?
Probably not, no, because that's a separate incident. You don't want to try to politicize or try to use that as a tool, use the trial and a situation as a tool to justify why someone should elect you. That's really something that would turn off voters more than anything. And, that there are deeper issues here, too, Will, in terms of it's not just the actions, but the psychological and emotional realities that she probably had to deal with. And we noticed a lot of that during the trial, not the trial, during the events leading up to the indictment, where it's something what we call vulnerable narcissism, where a person tries to justify quite often their decisions, what might be bad, and the more they try to justify those decisions that people might see as wrong and rationalize it, it proves the need for some type of intervention. Now, the key with that is people have to be willing to accept that level of intervention and reality, because you can not only convince yourself and get people around you to convince you that you're doing something that is right, that may not be correct, that can get you in trouble, but you try to justify it and weaponize it. And when I say weaponize it, you saw in many cases she tried to reframe the situations in terms of why she had to travel first class, why she needed Vappy around. She wanted to reframe that as she was the victim. Mm-hmm. And that was hiding probably some personal pain that she was, and traumas that needed to be addressed. So that's another element there. Does it make it right? No. Obviously, you had people around her telling her, hey, be careful, don't do this. But with vulnerable narcissism, people don't always see both sides of the situation. They see themselves as the victim, and therefore people around them need to adjust rather than they need to modify their behavior. And that's another element that's not being accurately discussed. It's looking at one dimension of her actions, but there's another element. Will I get her off? Absolutely not, because when you go to federal court or any court, they are simply looking at your actions, whether or not it's straightforward. Did you violate the law, or were you innocent?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a most unfortunate thing for our mayor and her family in our city. But it is.
It is. Yeah. In terms of her, like I said, her political biography is something that, and you know what's interesting, when I did her reelection survey, the title of that survey was Building Your Legacy. Mm-hmm. And at the time, due to the fact that she steered the city out of COVID having greater devastating impact, more people acquiring the disease and dying from it in a city that did not have all the medical resources, where many people wanted to keep businesses open in spite of the lack of resources. She gets credit for that, and the fair share, and many other things. But unfortunately, this will be some of the first statements in the very first paragraph of her political legacy. Because when I did the reelection poll, she was at a close to 70% approval rating,
which is amazing.
And that was right after COVID. That was in 21. Mm-hmm. And now, prior to indictment, she was at a 60% negative, way underwater. So that means she cannot recover in terms of rebuilding it unless there is some tremendous intervening circumstance. And by that I mean it would have to be some major catastrophic event, and naturally that would impact a lot of people, but you don't want that to happen.
So we are talking to Dr. Salas Lee about the indictment of our mayor, LaToya Cantrell, and what to expect and how to put this in context. If you have some input, a comment, or a question, the WBOK 1230 AM talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. It is 8:41 a.m., so if you need to be somewhere for 9, you might want to get up and go, but stay tuned via internet, AM radio, or Facebook, and keep us tuned as we continue with the Good Morning Show here on WBOK. Dr. Lee, are there other circumstances that you would say this is a different way to look at this as we've kind of hit the big news on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday? How do you see this playing out like today and the balance of the week? How should we as citizens, residents, consumers put this in context? Do you suggest that we kind of put this away or how should we think about this?
Be patient and wait, because this is a process that will take time. And certainly when you're dealing with an indictment, federal court, this is not Law and Order that you see on TV and CSI. And people have this fantasy that it's resolved within a few hours or a few days. No, it's more complex than that. So we have to wait and let the process play out. Because, like I said, she has to do the bond hearing, and they have to gather evidence. They haven't set a trial date. All that takes time. And that means that not only time, it takes resources. And people want quick answers, but they will have to just wait and therefore, the longer they have to wait, I know it builds suspicion, but that is just how the process works.
All right, we got a caller. Reverend Calhoun, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning, gentlemen, and how are you?
Fabulous, fabulous. Good morning,
Right.
good morning.
Yeah. Mr. Lee, given the games that the federal government usually play with these things, more than likely they're going to offer her some type of deal, which would entail what? Just 3 months and come back home or something? Because generally these deals is to make it more advantageous for going through a trial. And my other question is on your polls. We see how our current mayoral races is polling. I'd like to just give me some thought on what you see in those polls. So I'll hang up and listen.
Thanks, Reverend Calhoun. Dr. Lee?
Well, yeah, in terms of the polls, first of all, polls may not reflect something that's going to happen 3 months from now, really less than that. We are in August, September, October, so we're about 40-some days away from the primary occurring. And the campaign really hasn't started yet. It will start aggressively after Labor Day, which makes sense. And what you see right now is the preference of voters for a particular candidate at this point in time. Polls will change. Now, we do tracking polls. That means the closer you get to the election, you will notice, might see some changes in terms of the movement. But what you see right now is where voters are in terms of their voter preference, candidates for mayor at this point in time. And that is what you see. However, in terms of polls, you're looking at what we call the horse race poll. You simply see who's ahead, who's behind. However, we do polls for corporations and nonprofits and candidates too, where there are strategy and messaging polls. More in depth, they give you information that the public never sees. So that is what you don't see. But the polls right now, just keep in mind, they reflect where the election is, where voters are at this point in time. Therefore, expect some change. And he mentioned something about offering a deal. We have to see if that happens. And I've seen that happen in the past with clients. And what you have here is a situation where the cover-up becomes worse than the crime to a degree. And with the deal, there is an expiration on it, meaning that if they offer a deal, you have X amount of days or weeks to accept or reject. Once the deal is gone, it's gone. And I've seen cases where deals have been offered that were very good, more attractive than going to prison. They were turned down, and unfortunately, the person had to serve, the individuals had to serve time.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning, Dr. Lee. Appreciate your insight.
You're welcome.
As always. And we're going to have to go to break. And right after the break, we're going to get back to it, talk about some things you need to know and want to know. The WBLK talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. This is WBLK 1230 AM, the station that everybody's listening to all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Today is a WDSU first warning weather impact day due to a heat advisory. Highs rise to the mid-90s, feeling as hot as 108 and above. We also have another round of scattered storms this afternoon, with some possibly being heavy. Rain clears by tonight with lows into the 70s. We do it all over again for Wednesday. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Hello, friend. Tavis Smiley here with a special announcement. You can catch my show at a new time. Weekdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Same great topics, same great guests, same great conversations, just a little earlier in the day. It's Tavis Smiley, weekdays 1 to 4 p.m. only on WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month by the community scientists at Rise St. James. This month, we spotlight phthalates, chemicals added to plastics, especially PVC, to make them more flexible and durable. But there's more. Research shows phthalates may disrupt hormones, affect reproductive health, and contribute to environmental pollution impacting our communities. Join us as we explore how these additives shape our everyday lives and the world around us. For more details, visit risestjames.org. Empower your knowledge with Rise.
Got unpaid parking or camera tickets in New Orleans? Here's some good news. Through August 31st, you can take care of them without paying late fees. That's money back in your pocket. Just go to NOLA.gov/no late fees to see what you owe. You can pay all at once or sign up for a payment plan and break it into monthly payments at no extra cost. That's NOLA.gov/no late fees. NOLA.gov/no late fees. Don't miss out. This offer ends August 31st.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Good morning, New Orleans. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show on WBOK 1230 a.m. The talk line is 504-582-9422. We've got a few minutes to hear from you if you'd like to share a comment, ask a question, or have something to say of whatever kind you wish. 504-582-9422. And we're going to hear from Ken. Ken, are you there? Good morning.
Good morning, D. Will Sutton. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Attorney Ken. How are you?
Well, I have two things to quickly comment on, so I'm sure there'll be some other folks who want to say some things.
That's okay.
Thank you for Dr. Lee sharing the insights that he always ably and capably shares, and to edify people's understanding of what goes on.
Mm-hmm.
One, the mayor, as he most capably pointed out, this is more, the cover-up is more the crime in terms of anything else. Lying to federal investigators or not quite putting it all out, you can't say lying, but not being as forthright as possible is never good with the feds, because when they come, they're going to ask you questions that they know the answers to, and they're looking for you to say things that they know are inconsistent with what they have available to them. It's just what they do and what they've always done. I think, too, that this is a messaging point, not to, it's to say you're incompetent, this administration's incompetent, and that we need a different type of leadership. Because you look at the timing of this, you know, this could happen after the primaries, happen now. You know, this has been ongoing, and I well believe there'll be a superseding indictment, which this is already one. There'll be a second one, which probably adds the Randy Farrell case to this, because Randy Farrell's awful quiet. Gilbert Montagna has been really quiet. And when I saw, Gilbert Montagna was great, and he did this and he did that, you know, I've heard put about in different circles that, hey, you know, here's who was giving the information out. and he's real quiet. And all of a sudden, he winds up at Audubon Institute. Don't smell good to me, is my take on this. And that at the end of the day, these are basically paltry things. And the Randy Farrell thing is far more serious in that it would be that you have wrongfully terminated somebody because they were doing their job. If the allegations is currently out there and provided whatever they put out in the indictment, it goes forward with. They have capable counsel in the two guys they have. You got Pappy with Rosenberg, and you got Eddie Castaigne, who right now is one of the better defenders for public officials, and he knows the landscape. So we're going to just see how this goes and what happens next. One. Two, more critically, when we look at what Landry is doing, why are you sending my tax dollars to D.C. for something? Because Big Balls got beat up, basically. You know, the message is, people like this matter. You folks matter. You know, those guys are animals and savages, and we're going to clamp down. What it's doing is it's killing D.C.'s financial ability to operate. People are not going out. People are not doing things. I've talked to some D.C. folks, and they're not too happy about this. I mean, crime is dropping statistically overall, and it's really, with the way they're building ICE and not using the National Guard, they're really building a national police force, which makes me think about what happened during World War II and what Hitler did, quite frankly. You know, I'm very concerned because people don't realize that their rights are being abridged and taken away. And essentially, you know, we're going down a different path now. This path has happened before. You want to look at 1915, you know, when Jim Crow comes in. Doesn't look a lot different to me right now. And folks are like, well, you know, in 4 years, man already told you ain't going to be no election. We may have a sham election, but, you know, this is setting the predicate, and it's dangerous, and I'm worried about violence spilling out on the streets. So to the extent that we can still vote, I think we need to. You pointed out that only 27% of African Americans voted when 75% of non-minorities vote at a clip between 75 and 95%, roughly, is what I've seen throughout the years. And here's the thing. That's just not in New Orleans. That is writ large in black communities across the country. I was first made aware of this. Yeah, I was made aware of this about 25 years ago by somebody white. And when I started looking at the demographics, I was like, and consistently over this time period, this has been a thing. So if we don't go to the polls, we don't vote. I don't care if it's dog catcher. If there's an election, you need to be at the polls and do your homework. Elect people who, one, have the capacity and capability to do it, and two, given that we have a mayor's race coming, who does the mayor bring? The mayor is the CEO and a visionary for what's happening, but not the actual operator of the machine itself. That's your CAO, that's your chief of staff, and those are your department heads. Who is likely to bring a competent and capable group of people? Not just tell you what you want to hear. That gets old, that gets tired, and we need to do something better because we are not doing as well as we should be for all the things that we have in our quiver to be one of the most progressive and effective places. Progressive, when I mean forward moving in welfare for all the people that live here. I said all, not just some, all. With that said, thank you, Will, for allowing me to be on this morning, and I hope you will as you move forward.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for calling. Appreciate your call. As always, illuminating. All right. So, to Ken's point, just a reminder of what happened with the March 29th election. There was no candidate on the ballot. There were constitutional amendments proposals on the ballot. All four were rejected. And part of why that happened is there was an anticipation that with such an election that there would be low voter turnout in the low double figures and no more than low teens. But what ended up happening was more than 21% of voters turned out, and a great majority of those voters rejected 1, 2, 3, and 4 constitutional amendments backed by Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry. 21% is not good enough for a turnout for an election. But because it was close to double what was expected, a lot of people made their voices heard and stopped some bad things from happening. Doesn't mean that those issues won't come up again when it's time for the legislature to reconvene, but stopped for now. And so voting is a huge, huge deal, quite important. And just a reminder, as we begin to wind down, you can register to vote for the October 11th election. The deadline to register to vote in person, by mail, or at OMV is September 10th. And you can also register online through September 20th. Early voting is September 27th through October 4th, and that excludes Sunday, September 28th. Each day, that's 8:30 to 6 p.m. And the deadline for your absentee ballot is October 7th. So please, 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 whatever you do, check your own registration. Make sure that your family and friends are registered. Make sure that you are educated about the candidates who are running, seeking your votes now. Urban League is having another candidates debate this evening at LB Landry at 7 p.m. Dr. Ashanta Wyatt and Will Sutton will be your moderators. And on Friday, we will have the Orleans Parish Democratic Executive Committee Candidate Forum Friday at 6 p.m. with the New Orleans Mayoral, Parish Sheriff, Clerk of Criminal District Court candidates at the Millie M. Charles School of Social Work at SUNO. And Saturday at 9, Orleans Parish Assessor, Council Member at Large Divisions 1 and 2, and Council Member candidates for A, C, D, and E. All right, well, it's been a great show. Want to say thank you for all those who listened and watched today's Good Morning Show. Special thanks to Michael McClanahan, the NAACP Louisiana State Conference President, and Dr. Silas Lee. And thank you to those of you all who called, Ms. Jones, Ken, Reverend Calhoun, and others. Thank you so much for engaging with us online, on the phone, and we wish you the best of the day. Stay tuned for Ken Kemper and Graylin with The Front Porch coming up right next after this. WBOK, 12:30 a.m., the station that everybody's listening to all day long.